All right. Good evening, everybody. It is 7:15. This is reports and presentations to the Public Works Committee. Tonight we have two items. The first agenda item is to consider update to policy 42, concrete replacement criteria. Do I have that right, or did I skip ahead one? I think I skipped ahead one.
There's a typo in the cover memo, but I believe the agenda lists policy 9 is the first item of consideration.
Okay. Let me scroll back up to that one. Okay, so I have policy 42. I'm not sure if I have policy 9. I can't find policy 9 here. It goes.
In my packet, it's right after it.
It's right after.
Yep.
Okay. Policy 9. Okay. So we will take policy number 9. Leanne, could you fill us in on this policy?
Sure. There's actually two changes that we're requesting. One of them is an update to the title. The current title references concrete walks and approaches in public highways. In fact, this is applicable to all public right-of-way within the Village of Shorewood. And the second change is actually an addition that we're titled a street tree addendum. And this just outlines requirements and guidelines for the replacement of public walk when it's adjacent to a mature street tree. It allows some deviation in the standard sidewalk installation to better accommodate those trees and care for those trees over the longer term.
Okay. Trustees, do we have any comments, concerns, thoughts?
No concerns. I think it's great that we'll add something in to protect as many trees as we can. I know that that's something that the department and staff, I'm sure, do anyway. But getting it formally in the policy seems like a good thing.
Yeah, thanks for taking care of this.
Fantastic. I don't have the recommended motion in front of me. If somebody does have that in front of them, please feel free to. Is that okay? Never mind. I do actually. Apologize, guys. So I move to recommend the village board that policy 9, concrete walks and approaches in public highways, be amended to include a street tree addendum and retitled concrete walks and approaches in the public right of way.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you, Leanne. Next up, we have agenda item to consider update to policy 42, concrete replacement criteria.
Thank you. So this policy has been in existence for quite some time. It's been amended several times, most primarily in response to changes to our village-wide sidewalk replacement program. Tonight, we are asking for two changes to the current policy. The first relates to criteria 7, which references carriage walks and the materials that are used. You'll recall that last year, the village board, during its long-range financial plan discussions, agreed that moving forward, the village would not assess for the replacement of public sidewalk. In past programs, we assessed for public walk and carriage walk. Staff believes and recommends for your consideration that direction related to assessment be slightly revised, and that public sidewalk would not be assessed as it provides a general public use, but the carriage walks themselves are actually there only to benefit that property. And so moving forward, when a carriage walk was identified in need of repair or replacement, the department would first notify the adjacent property owner and give them the option of its replacement with concrete at their cost, which we would invoice, not assess, or the removal and replacement and being restored with seed. So that would be the change to criteria 7. The change to criteria 8 relates to the use of grinding to eliminate trip hazards. Typically, that is used when you have sidewalk joints that are offset. We had very specific details in the criteria, primarily to ensure that it was only applied in certain situations. Grinding is not a public improvement and therefore could not, under the past rules, be specially assessed. So we had to make it very clear exactly where grinding could be used. Going forward, that really isn't an issue. And we liked to provide a little bit more discretion to our employees in the use of that tool or technique. So the second change would be to eliminate, and you'll see in the red line version, we eliminate all those items that are spelled out and just replace with at the discretion of the Department of Public Works. And then the third change is the last time this was published, it referenced it being policy 36. In fact, it's 42. I don't know if the number was changed at the last point, but that's just a housekeeping.
Thank you. Trustees?
Just one quick question with regards to the concrete grinding. Do you think that that's going to lead to more grinding probably? Were there opportunities that we couldn't take in the past? Or just more consistent grinding?
I think that to be very candid, I can live without this if you choose not to do it. Really, my thought process in this was it would give us a little more the ability or some leniency to do this as a very temporary measure until we were able to replace that slab. So at our discretion allows us to do that if in fact this was brought to our attention, after we'd finished concrete work for the year.
Sure.
Or in those types of scenarios. For the most part, I don't anticipate that we would apply the criteria any differently than the way they are listed. But like I said, it does give us a little more flexibility in certain unusual circumstances.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Is that I assume that there are like standards to when grinding is an option and when grinding is not an option.
And that's what this
all
spelled out.
spells out
Yep.
there. Okay. My other question is criteria 7. If we were to remove the carriage walkway and just reseat it, that cost would also go to the homeowner, or would that be something that we'd be willing to take on?
Something that we could just absorb within our
Okay.
operating budget.
Yep.
I don't expect there to be dozens of them.
Right. I think that's acceptable. Trustee Moore Baldoff, Trustee Stokebrand?
So are we seeing more and more people just saying, I don't need that carriage walk?
No, because that isn't how we operate now. We just automatically replace it.
No, but I'm saying when if it's uneven, because isn't the carriage walk, the property owners, the village is doing the sidewalks now as part of the property tax, but the carriage walks is the responsibility of the property owner?
That is what I'm proposing.
That's, not yet. We will hear them talk, we will have more residents talk about carriage walks after this is adopted.
So it would become, the carriage walks would become whose responsibility? They're now, whose responsibility now?
Ours.
They're the Public Works Department.
No, they're the
Village.
villages.
The villages.
They're considered to be a public sidewalk because they're located within the public right of way.
And
But
so
they
if someone
serve-
says,
They do not serve the general public. They only benefit the adjacent property owner.
right, and so if someone says, wow, my carriage walk has got this big lip on it, I'd really like to have it fixed. Currently, the village would put it in their schedule,
Yes.
and going forward, what would happen?
Going forward, we are asking that if that is either brought to our attention or identified in a regular review of that area of sidewalk, we would then notify the property owner and say, these are the two options that you have. One is, well, there really would be three. One is you replace it yourself at your cost, pulling all the necessary permits and working through the building inspection department to do that. The second would be, we will replace it the same way we would an adjacent sidewalk or part of the public sidewalk, but you will be invoiced for the cost of that replacement. The third would be, we can remove it and remove the hazard and replace it with seed.
And so at the end of the day, does it take away a responsibility? Does it take away an option for the property owners?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I'm just saying, like, do they have fewer options then? Like right now, the village would take care of it, right? If they say, oh,
We're
you know,
giving them three options. They don't have three options now.
okay. So right now, their option is you take care of it all yourself.
No.
Oh,
It's considered to be under the previous sidewalk program. It was considered to be part of the public sidewalk network. When we would move in our geographical programs, every other year doing a different area of the village, we would assess all public sidewalk within that area and rate it and identify which needed to be removed and replaced.
right, and charge it to
Carriage
the
walks-
property owner.
And assess it to the property owner. Carriage walks were looked at no differently than public sidewalks.
And now the sidewalks are all a public commitment.
Correct.
And so the question is what to do with the carriage walk.
Yep, and it's either going to be the homeowner to replace, or the village at no cost, the homeowner will remove the carriage walk and reseed.
And so the property owner has the control to decide, but the costs will be on them. They'll bear the cost.
Correct.
Okay,
Because it benefits only them.
right.
Or the property owner could just decide to leave it as it is going forward too, right?
No, because it's in the public right of way.
Okay, okay.
Has a
Um,
liability.
It becomes a liability. So it's still subject to the policy which identifies what concrete would be labeled as,
Unsafe or
Yes.
whatever. Okay.
Right. If
okay.
it's a hazard, we're not going to let it remain a
correct.
hazard.
Thank you.
Yep. And these are not ADA sort of accessible features, right? So they're not serving a community that may really need them.
that is correct. They do not. They serve only the property. And in fact, under ADA guidelines, you cannot make those accessible. You can only have the accessible detectable warning field and ped ramp at an intersection where there is a similar receiving
Yeah.
facility at the other side.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any further questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to recommend to the village board that policy 42, concrete walks and approaches in public highways, be amended to establish carriage walk replacement responsibility and modify standards regarding the use of concrete grinding.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, policy 42 passes. And that is the last agenda item tonight for Public Works. Thank you, everybody. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. 7:29, 1 minute to spare.
Very, very